Well, hey guys, welcome back, and I want to talk about Star Wars. Yes, that thing that seems to hang around even though nobody really watches it anymore, and I say that as somebody who grew up on Star Wars. I loved the original movies, hated the prequels, read all the extended universe books. Star Wars was pretty much my entire childhood. I'm not one of these fake fans who joined later on. Oh no, Star Wars was everything to me, so I was very disappointed by the prequels when they came out. And as such, once Disney bought the franchise, it has just gotten from bad to worse. And again, you can have differences of opinions about, the quality of each film versus some of the shows, like season 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian was okay. I thought the first season of Andor was very good, despite the fact that Andor was probably the least like Star Wars out of any Star Wars property I've seen. But that being said, we are now approaching season 2. Now, the funny thing about season 1 of Andor was the fact that at the time, it seemed like nobody was really watching it, despite the fact that pretty much everyone agreed Andor was one of the best things Disney Star Wars had ever created. I know a lot of people say Rogue One. I watched the movie. It was fine. I thought there was a lot of good parts to it. But at the end of the day, it was kind of, we knew how the movie was going to end. Andor definitely has a lot of charm, a lot of intrigue, a lot of the politics of it and stuff, which makes it very good, very gritty, almost a little too adult to be a Star Wars show, right? That being said, nobody knew how bad it was going to finally get. Now here we are today, where apparently the first 3 episodes of Season 2 have dropped, and it seems that they are raising the stakes. There's apparently spoilers. I'm not going to get into this, because again, I don't even remember the characters from the first season, except for the main couple of characters. Apparently nobody is safe. They're going to start killing off characters left and right, just to kind of up the ante. But then it gets a lot weirder. So one of the things we're seeing online right now is this headline here. Andor star Adria Arjona reacts to filming the first assault of that type in a Star Wars franchise. Now, I know that there's a lot of people who are split on the opinion about Star Wars is for kids, Star Wars isn't for kids, Star Wars is for everybody, it's okay to put adult stuff in Star Wars. I'm somewhere like in the middle. I'm like, I understand all the arguments everyone's trying to make. At the end of the day, I think it's okay to have specific parts of the franchise that cater to a different type of audience. For example, there was that Star Wars show that came out, Skeleton Crew. That was obviously geared towards kids. I don't know anybody that watched it. I don't think anyone watched it. And we all know that the Acolyte was geared towards the weirdo feminist shipper type people. So again, they were trying to appeal to different types of people, obviously. Andor is geared towards a more mature audience. There's no question that that's kind of what they set out to do. And in some ways, I think that's totally fine. Again, it does make it feel the least like Star Wars out of anything we've seen, because Star Wars has always been pretty much, family friendly with a few exceptions here and there. The one thing I would say, out of anything that's been related to Star Wars in the last 20, 30 years, I think the books, some of the extended universe books, certainly went in directions that were far more adult than the original movies. But again, that's based on a specific author choosing to take it that direction. So that being said, we see this historic Star Wars moment. People are getting really weird about this. From the New York Post, it says, during the 3rd episode of Andor Season 2, rebel fugitive Bix Kalleen is forced to fight back at Imperial Officer Kroll as he attempts to you-know-what to her, right? Bix, who is trying to hide her undocumented status as a Ferrix refugee from the Empire, ultimately kills Kroll by striking him multiple times with a wrench during the intense struggle. She told the Entertainment Weekly how difficult it was to film the scene, which marked the first attempted you-know-what in the Star Wars franchise. This is just not something... Okay, I understand, guys. People are going to be saying it's not for kids. I get that. It just doesn't fit Star Wars. And yes, I know the Empire's bad. They're fascist. They're stormtroopers and whatnot, and they're taking over the universe. And clearly this is a referendum or a discussion about immigrants being taken advantage of, right? This is clearly like modern political speech that we're seeing interjected into this show. My bigger issue with it is you can accept that certain things may have happened without needing to see them in a show or a movie when it's intentionally not... even Andor being more mature, it's not an R-rated show. It's like a teen, like PG-13 level. She said, I also felt incredibly safe and cushioned in the process of doing it. It's something Tony Gilroy does. She said about the show's creator, he brings this mirror effect that shows the things that happen in our world can also happen in a galaxy far, far away. We know that those things can happen, though. That's my issue with this entire thing. Just because it can happen doesn't mean we need to see it. Not everything that could happen needs to be seen on the screen. Some things can just be implied, inferred, without messing with the whole vibe and setting of the show. Arjona also explained why Bix refers to Cassian Andor as her husband when Kroll confronts her and acts like a predator before the attempted assault. It's a way of escaping, she said. It's very difficult for her to say, my boyfriend's coming. She might feel that he won't respect her. But if she says, my husband, there's power to that. There's respect to that. She hopes in her wildest dreams that he respects that. Of course he doesn't, but she feels incredibly cornered at that moment. It's more complex than a cute wedding in the gap year, Arjona continued. She's trying to get out of a very tricky situation that as women, we unfortunately are stuck in quite a bit. And I'm not invalidating that. Like, I'm not one of these guys who's going to say, all this stuff never happens. Clearly it happens all the time. And as a father, of a girl, of course, I hope that it never happens to any woman. But I just don't feel that this is something that really leans towards the Star Wars vibe, if you catch what I'm saying here. In an interview with Variety, the actress who was dating Jason Momoa admitted that she was really scared to film the scene after reading the script. There's always something really effing powerful about that fact that I get to showcase this in a galaxy far, far away. I don't like that, but okay. The fact that Tony gave it to Bix was a big honor, and it was right. She's in the most vulnerable state she can possibly be in, and someone tries to take advantage of her. We've heard that story many times. She's like a stone-cold fox. This gal, I always liked her look. She's really, really pretty. Arjona revealed that in her conversations with director Ariel Kleiman before shooting the scene, the only thing that I really fought for was for Bix to first break free by backhanding Kroll. There was something about backslapping somebody that's exactly what I wish my reaction would be if I were ever in that moment. So it's like I don't want to say this because, again, I don't want to dismiss the seriousness of the situation, but this almost feels like a female power fantasy where the guy is trying to do this and she backhands him, like that's how she wants her reaction to be. How about you would hope your reaction would be that he wouldn't do it, or that, you'd have a weapon on you or something to end him quickly with, like not even letting him have a chance. I mean, that's why I'm a big fan of, everyone carrying concealed weapons and all that, but hey, that's just me, whatever. But of course, the weirder part about this, Entertainment Weekly calls this a milestone. Not even kidding. Their post on Twitter says, as Bix on Andor, Adria Arjona becomes the first actress to film an attempted assault scene in the Star Wars universe. Arjona tells more about this milestone. What a weird thing to call it. I know Raven Rainfall on Twitter says, the idea of calling something as horrific as this an effing milestone is disgusting. It's a slap in the face to survivors. She says, I had that happen to me myself at 13, and let me be crystal clear, it wasn't some transformative, celebratory moment. It was a nightmare that left scars, not a effing badge of honor. And of course, you've got a lot of people saying that this makes the show more relatable, more deep. It creates, more of a realistic, believable atmosphere. Fine, I understand that. I'm not arguing that you can't have this kind of stuff in a show to create a sense of seriousness and gravity, but I just don't personally believe it fits in Star Wars. This account here says Andor dared to go to the darkest places Star Wars could offer, an Imperial officer abusing his untouchable status to attempt to, assault an undocumented migrant while his troops are rounding up other undocumented citizens. Why do I feel like that, again, this is some sort of preachy modern politics messaging in this show? This is the real world seeping into Star Wars storytelling. This is the world we live in, reflected in the galaxy far, far away. This is the Star Wars that is most political, it's most potent, it's most frightening. Maybe we don't want to see the real world in Star Wars. Maybe we want to see Star Wars in Star Wars. I don't know, call me crazy. Tony Gilroy even said, I get one shot to tell everything I know or can discover or that I've learned about Revolution, about battles, with as many incidents and as many colors as I can get in there without having the story tip over. I mean, let's be honest, the history of civilization, there's a huge arterial component of it that it is assault. All of us who are here, we are all the product of assault. I don't believe that for a second. Sure, it happens. He says, I mean, armies in power throughout history have committed this act, so to not touch on it in some way, it was just organic and it felt right coming about as a power trip for this guy. I was really trying to make a path for Bix that would ultimately lead to clarity, but a difficult path to get back to clarity. This just comes across as weird. I know a lot of people like Eric Kane think it's fine. He says the weird thing about the sudden flood of people saying Star Wars is for kids is the simple fact that it's been adults primarily complaining about Star Wars all this time. If it's for kids, why do you even care? Hint, because it's not for kids. And I'm not over here saying it's just for kids. Other people like Kata says assault doesn't belong in Star Wars. There's no discussion to be had about it. Again, I even bring up, and I brought this up earlier, somebody shares the Slave Leia outfit. And again, this was subtle. It was implied. As a kid, you didn't understand. You didn't get it. As an adult, you would understand the context. And I think that there are ways to do it without being grotesque about it. And again, I just don't personally think it fits Star Wars. Is it going to ruin the show for me? No, I'll get around to watching it. I liked season 1 of Andor. I thought it was very interesting. I definitely enjoyed it. So I'll get around to watching the second season. I am sure it'll still be enjoyable. I just don't necessarily know that I feel great about this existing in Star Wars. Let me know what you guys think, though, down in the comments down below, and I will catch you on the next one. Alright, and if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you for being here. I do have 2 channels, Minimal Effort Podcast, as well as my gaming channel. I do have a Twitch and Kick for my gaming channel. We do live streams over there occasionally, maybe once a week. And then if you are in the market for a new PC, make sure to check out Meta PCs. Click the link I have down below. Use code TBO at checkout for a special discount. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.